The alien ship moved slowly through space toward Earth's outer defense zone. Its hull was smooth and green like a giant leaf. Strange patterns covered its surface that looked like tree bark. Inside the ship, Captain Zethka stood before a large window watching the blue planet grow larger. Zethka's people were called the Villani. They were tall and thin with green skin and large dark eyes. Their hands ended in long fingers that were perfect for growing plants. The Villani had never built weapons. They spent their time making gardens on dead planets and trading with other peaceful species across the galaxy. Now they were running for their lives. The Korth Empire had found them 6 months ago. The Korth were different from any species the Villani had met before. They destroyed everything they touched. They killed for pleasure and enslaved those they let live. 12 Villani worlds had already burned under Korth attacks. On Earth, radar stations picked up the strange ship as it crossed into human space. Alarms rang through the command centers. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the bridge of the Earth defense ship, Liberty. He had been watching the outer zone for 3 years. Nothing this big had ever come this close to Earth before. "Sir, the alien vessel is slowing down," reported his communications officer. "They're sending some kind of signal." Jake looked at the screen showing the alien ship. It was huge but moved like it was hurt. Burn marks covered parts of its hull. "Can we understand their message?" "Working on it, sir. The computer is trying to translate." The officer touched buttons on his control panel. Static filled the bridge speakers. Then slowly words began to form. "Please, help us. We mean no harm." The voice was strange and musical. It sounded afraid. Jake had been a soldier for 15 years. He knew the sound of desperation when he heard it. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. Who are you and what do you want?" The alien ship stopped moving. For a long moment there was only silence. Then the voice came back, clearer now as the translation system got better. "I am Captain Zethka of the Villani people. We come seeking aid. Our worlds burn. Our children die. We have heard stories of your kindness. Please, we ask for mercy." Back on Earth, Admiral Lisa Hayes sat in the Global Defense Council meeting room. She was 50 years old with gray hair and serious eyes. She had spent her life protecting Earth from threats. But this was different. These aliens were asking for help, not bringing trouble. Around the table sat Earth's most important leaders. General Mike Patterson commanded ground forces. Colonel Susan Wright ran space operations. Dr. Alan Cooper studied alien technology. They all looked worried. "Tell us more about these Korth," Admiral Hayes said into her microphone. On the main screen, Captain Zethka's face appeared. His green skin was pale with fear. His large eyes held sadness that was easy to understand even across different species. The Korth Empire spreads across many systems. They take what they want and destroy the rest. They have weapons we cannot fight. They enjoy causing pain. My people are farmers and traders. We know nothing of war. Dr. Cooper leaned forward. "How many of your people are left?" "Perhaps 10 million across 3 remaining worlds. But the Korth fleets grow closer each day. Soon there will be none of us left." Zethka's voice broke as he spoke. The council members looked at each other. This was clearly a refugee situation. Earth had handled similar problems before when colonies failed or stations were destroyed. They would need medical ships, food supplies, and temporary housing. Admiral Hayes was about to speak when another voice cut in. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Price had been quiet during the meeting. He was Earth's best military mind and had fought in every major conflict of the last 20 years. "Admiral, we need to look at the bigger picture here." Sam stood up and walked to the star map on the wall. "These Korth aren't just attacking the Villani. They're expanding in our direction." He pointed to the map showing Korth-controlled space. Red areas marked their territory. It formed a line pointing straight toward Earth's colonies. If they finish with the Villani, we're next. This isn't just about helping refugees. This is about stopping a threat before it reaches us. General Patterson nodded slowly. "So what do you suggest?" Sam looked around the room. "We don't send aid ships and medical teams. We send the Marines." The room went quiet. Dr. Cooper looked shocked. "These people are asking for humanitarian aid, not military intervention." "They're asking for mercy," Sam replied. "But sometimes mercy comes at the end of a gun." Admiral Hayes thought about this. The Villani seemed peaceful and genuinely needed help. But Earth's colonies held millions of humans. If the Korth were really expanding toward human space, they had to be stopped somewhere. "What kind of force would we need?" she asked. Colonel Wright pulled up military records on her tablet. The 7th Marine Expeditionary Force is ready for deployment. 3,000 Marines with full space combat gear. They've been training for exactly this kind of operation. Who commands the 7th? Admiral Hayes asked. Colonel Alex Turner, veteran of the Mars campaigns and the Europa conflict. His people are the best we have. Admiral Hayes made her decision. The safety of Earth came first. If helping the Villani also meant stopping the Korth before they became Earth's problem, then that was what they would do. Contact Colonel Turner. Tell him to prepare his people for immediate deployment. She looked at the screen where Zethka still waited. Captain Zethka, Earth will help your people, but not in the way you expect. The alien captain looked confused. I do not understand. Will you send medical aid? Ships for our refugees? Admiral Hayes smiled, but it was not a gentle smile. Captain, you asked for mercy. We're sending you our most merciful warriors. Hours later at Marine Base Luna, Colonel Alex Turner read his mission orders. He was 42 years old and had been fighting Earth's enemies since he was 18. His Marines called him the Hammer because he hit hard and never missed. The orders were simple. Deploy to Villani space, assess the Korth threat, and eliminate it completely. No negotiations. No prisoners unless they provided useful information. The Korth had shown what they were by attacking peaceful people. Earth would show them what happened when they threatened the innocent. Turner walked into the briefing room where his officers waited. Major Kate Sullivan commanded the armored units. Captain Linda Gray led special operations. Sergeant Maria Rodriguez ran the infantry companies. All of them had fought alongside Turner for years. People, we have a new mission, Turner began. There's a species called the Korth that's been wiping out peaceful aliens. They're expanding toward human space. We're going to stop them. Major Sullivan raised her hand. What about the refugees, sir? Are we providing humanitarian aid too? Turner looked at his officers. These were the finest soldiers Earth had ever produced. They had trained their entire lives for moments like this. When evil showed its face, they were Earth's answer. The best humanitarian aid we can give is making sure these Korth never hurt anyone again. Turner's voice was calm, but deadly serious. They asked for mercy. We're going to show them what human mercy looks like. The briefing continued for 2 hours. Maps were studied. Equipment was checked. Battle plans were made. By morning, Earth's finest warriors would be on their way to show the galaxy that some species should never have started the fight. In space, Captain Zethka waited for Earth's response. He hoped for doctors and supply ships. He had no idea that Earth was sending something much more dangerous, something that would change the balance of power across the entire galaxy. Earth was sending its warriors. The massive Earth ship New York moved through space like a metal mountain. Inside its cargo bays, 3,000 Marines prepared for war. Colonel Alex Turner walked through the ship checking on his people. They had been traveling for 2 weeks toward Villani space. Today they would arrive at their first target. Turner stopped at the armory where Sergeant Maria Rodriguez cleaned her rifle. She was 32 years old and had been fighting for Earth since she was 19. Her squad called her Iron Maria, because nothing could break her spirit. She looked up when Turner approached. "How are the troops, Sergeant?" Turner asked. "Ready to fight, sir. The boys are getting restless. 2 weeks on a ship makes them hungry for action." Maria checked her weapons targeting system. Every Earth rifle could hit targets 2 miles away with perfect accuracy. Turner nodded. His Marines had trained for years to fight in space and on alien worlds. Each soldier carried weapons that could punch through tank armor. Their suits could protect them from poison gas, radiation, and enemy fire. They were the most dangerous fighting force Earth had ever created. In the mech bay, Major Kate Sullivan ran final checks on her giant fighting machines. The Titan-class mechs stood 30 feet tall and weighed 50 tons each. Their railguns could destroy buildings with single shots. Their armor could stop anything the enemy might throw at them. Lieutenant Ben Foster climbed into his mech and started the power systems. The machine came alive around him like a giant metal body. Through the neural link, he could feel every sensor and weapon as if they were part of himself. "All mechs show green, Major," Foster reported. "We're ready to stomp some bad guys." Captain Ryan Clark laughed from his own mech. "Try to leave some for the rest of us, Ben. I want to test these new plasma cannons." Major Sullivan smiled inside her helmet. Her pilots were good soldiers, but they were also her friends. They had fought together on Mars when rebel colonies tried to break away from Earth. They had cleared Europa's ice tunnels of pirates and smugglers. Now they would face their biggest challenge yet. On the bridge, Admiral Lisa Hayes spoke with Captain Zethka through the communication system. The Volani captain was still confused about Earth's response to his request for aid. "Admiral Hayes, when will your medical ships arrive? Our wounded grow worse each day." Zethka's green face showed worry and pain. Hayes looked at the tactical display showing Korth ships surrounding the last Volani world. "Captain, our aid is already on the way. But it's not medical supplies you're getting." "I do not understand. What other aid could Earth provide?" Before Hayes could answer, alarms began ringing throughout the New York. They had arrived at their destination. On the main screen, a blue-green planet appeared surrounded by dark Korth warships. The planet's surface showed the damage of constant bombing. Forests burned. Cities lay in ruins. Turner joined Hayes on the bridge. Through his binoculars, he could see Korth ships circling the planet like hungry wolves. There were at least 50 enemy vessels, each one larger than Earth's biggest destroyer. "That's a lot of bad guys," Turner said calmly. "My people are going to enjoy this." General Vexmore commanded the Korth fleet from his flagship Blood Harvest. He was 8 feet tall with gray skin and sharp teeth. Scars covered his arms from countless battles against species too weak to fight back properly. His species had conquered hundreds of worlds by being more brutal than anyone else. When his sensors detected the human fleet, Vexmore laughed. The ships were smaller than his own vessels. There were only 12 of them against his 50. "This would be over quickly. Unknown ships, you have entered Korth space. Surrender now or be destroyed." Vexmore's voice carried across all radio channels. Turner took the communication microphone from Hayes. When he spoke, his voice was calm and cold as winter ice. "This is Colonel Alex Turner of the Earth Defense Force. You have 30 minutes to stop attacking these people and leave this system. This is your only warning." Vexmore could not believe what he heard. This tiny human thought he could order the mighty Korth Empire around. It was the funniest thing he had heard in years. "Human fool, I will use your bones to decorate my ship. All vessels, attack." 50 Korth warships turned toward the human fleet. Their plasma cannons charged with deadly energy. Vexmore had destroyed countless enemy fleets this way. The humans would learn why the galaxy feared the Korth. Turner watched the enemy ships approach. His face showed no fear, only cold calculation. He had been waiting his entire career for a fight like this. "All ships, this is Turner. Light them up." What happened next shocked everyone watching. The Korth plasma beams hit the human ships and simply disappeared. Earth's energy shields absorbed the attacks like they were nothing more than flashlight beams. Then the human ships fired back. Earth's railguns spoke with voices of thunder. Metal slugs moving at impossible speed smashed into Korth hulls. The enemy ships had never faced weapons like these. Their armor, designed to stop energy beams, cracked like eggshells under the kinetic impacts. Commander Steve Adams led Earth's fighter squadron away from the main fleet. His 20 fighters moved in perfect formation, each pilot knowing exactly what the others would do. The Korth had never seen such coordination. "Eagle Squadron, target their engines," Adams ordered. "Let's clip their wings." The human fighters danced between Korth ships like deadly birds. Their missiles found weak spots that Korth engineers never thought to protect. Enemy ships began losing power and drifting helplessly in space. On the planet's surface, Sergeant Rodriguez led her landing team down in drop pods. The metal capsules fell through the atmosphere like meteors, protected by heat shields and guided by computer systems. Rodriguez's pod landed in a Volani city under siege by Korth ground forces. She stepped out of the smoking capsule and immediately began shooting. Her rifle made no sound in the vacuum, but Korth soldiers fell wherever she aimed. Corporal Danny Kim landed nearby and began setting up demolition charges. His job was to destroy Korth equipment and create safe zones for Volani civilians to escape. The alien invaders had never faced human explosive experts before. Private Tony Martinez established a communication network linking all human forces. Within minutes, every Marine on the planet could talk to every ship in orbit. The Korth used simple radio systems that human electronic warfare easily jammed. Major Sullivan's mechs landed like metal giants from the sky. Her Titans stomped through Korth positions, their massive weapons turning enemy tanks into scrap metal. Lieutenant Foster used his mech's arm-mounted railgun to punch holes through entire buildings where Korth snipers were hiding. Captain Clark tested his new plasma cannons on a group of Korth vehicles. The alien technology melted like butter under the intense heat. The enemy had never seen weapons that could create temperatures hotter than the surface of stars. On his flagship, General Vexmore watched his fleet being destroyed by forces he did not understand. The humans fought with a skill and coordination his species had never developed. Every human ship, fighter, and soldier worked together like parts of a single deadly machine. How are they doing this? Vexmore demanded of his tactical officer. Their ships are smaller than ours. Sir, their weapons appear to be completely different from anything in our database. They're not using energy beams at all. They're throwing solid objects at incredible speeds. Vexmore had never heard of kinetic weapons. The Korth had always relied on brute force and superior numbers. They had never needed to be clever or efficient. Now they faced an enemy that had spent centuries learning how to kill things better. Captain Linda Gray's Special Forces team boarded a Korth cruiser through a breach created by marine explosives. Her soldiers moved through the enemy ship like ghosts, capturing officers and gathering intelligence about Korth fleet positions. The boarding action showed how different human and Korth approaches to war really were. The Korth had designed their ships to intimidate enemies, with huge open spaces and dramatic lighting. Human ships were built for efficiency, with every inch serving a military purpose. Gray's team reached the Korth command center and found detailed star charts showing the entire enemy empire. The information would be invaluable for planning future operations. Down on the planet, Dr. Paul Edwards examined captured Korth equipment, while Marines provided security. The enemy weapons were powerful but crude. They had been designed by a species that won through fear rather than skill. These people have never had to fight a real war, Edwards told Turner over the radio. They're bullies, not soldiers. Turner smiled grimly as he watched his forces systematically destroy the Korth fleet. Then it's time someone taught them the difference. By the end of the day, 47 Korth ships were destroyed or disabled. The 3 survivors were allowed to escape, but only after Turner made sure they understood his message. Tell your empire that Earth is coming, Turner broadcast to the fleeing ships. Tell them what happens when they attack innocent people. Captain Zethka could barely believe what he had seen. The humans had arrived and destroyed an entire Korth fleet in a single day. These were not the aid workers and doctors he had expected. Your warriors, Zethka said to Admiral Hayes. They do not simply fight. They have made war into an art, Hayes nodded. Captain, you asked for mercy. This is how humans show mercy. We make sure the bad guys can never hurt anyone again. The battle for Kepler 442b was over, but the war had just begun. Colonel Alex Turner stood on the bridge of the New York, watching his Marines secure the planet below. 3 Korth ships had escaped and were running back to their empire with news of the defeat. Turner wanted them to spread the word about what happened when someone attacked innocent people. General Vexmore's surviving ship limped through space toward the nearest Korth base. His hull was cracked and half his crew was dead. He had never seen anything like the human attack. Their weapons cut through Korth armor like it was made of paper. Their fighters moved like they could read his mind. Send a message to High Command, Vexmore ordered his communications officer. Tell them we have encountered a new enemy. They fight like nothing we have seen before. Back on the liberated Villani world, Sergeant Maria Rodriguez walked through a refugee camp with Captain Zethka. Thousands of Villani families huddled in underground shelters they had dug to escape Korth bombing. The plant people looked up in wonder as human soldiers brought them food and medical supplies. Your warriors saved us, Zethka said to Rodriguez. But I still do not understand. We asked for mercy and medical aid. Why did Earth send soldiers instead? Rodriguez stopped to help a young Villani child who had been hurt in the bombing. The little one's green skin was pale with fear. She gave the child some water and a ration bar from her pack. Sometimes the most merciful thing you can do is stop the people doing the hurting, Rodriguez explained. We could have sent doctors and food, but that wouldn't have stopped the Korth from coming back tomorrow. The child looked up at Rodriguez with large, dark eyes. Even though they were different species, the Marine could see gratitude in that look. This was why Earth's warriors fought, not for glory or conquest, but to protect those who could not protect themselves. Meanwhile, Major Kate Sullivan's mech squadron patrolled the planet's surface looking for hidden Korth forces. Her giant machines stepped carefully through Villani cities, their sensors scanning for enemies. Lieutenant Ben Foster found a group of Korth soldiers hiding in a bombed building. Major, I've got 6 hostiles in the ruins of that school, Foster reported. They're holding Villani prisoners. Sullivan's voice came back calm and professional. Take them alive if possible. We need information about their empire. Foster's mech approached the building slowly. Through his speakers, he called out to the Korth soldiers in their own language. Human computers had broken their communication codes during the space battle. Attention, Korth forces. You are surrounded. Release your prisoners and surrender. You will not be harmed if you comply. The Korth response was a plasma blast that bounced harmlessly off Foster's armor. The aliens had never learned about surrender. They only understood victory or death. Guess we do this the hard way, Foster muttered. His mech's hand reached through the building wall like it was made of cardboard. The mechanical fingers carefully picked up the Volani prisoners and moved them to safety. Then the building collapsed on the Korth soldiers inside. Captain Linda Gray's Special Forces team worked in the ruins of the Volani capital city. Their job was to gather intelligence about Korth operations. Gray had been a spy before she became a soldier. She knew how to find secrets that enemies tried to hide. Colonel, you need to see this. Gray called Turner over her radio. She was standing in what used to be a Korth command center. Broken computers and scattered papers covered the floor. What did you find? Turner asked. Maps, sir. Lots of maps. The Korth have been planning this invasion for years. And look at this. Gray held up a star chart showing dozens of red marks. Each mark represented a world the Korth had conquered or destroyed. Turner studied the chart through Gray's helmet camera. The pattern was clear. The Korth Empire had been expanding in a straight line toward human space for decades. The Volani were just the latest victims in a long list of peaceful species. How many worlds have they hit? Turner asked. At least 40 that I can count, sir. Millions of people dead or enslaved. And according to these plans, they were going to attack our colonies next. Turner felt a cold anger building in his chest. These Korth were not just bullies picking on the weak. They were a cancer spreading across the galaxy, destroying everything in their path. Earth's intervention had come just in time. Dr. Paul Edwards examined captured Korth technology in a makeshift laboratory. The enemy weapons were powerful but crude. They had been designed by engineers who cared more about fear than efficiency. Edwards found something interesting in the alien equipment. Colonel Turner, I think I know why the Korth are so aggressive, Edwards reported. Their homeworld has 3 times Earth's gravity. They're incredibly strong, but they can't adapt to lighter environments well. What does that mean for us? Turner asked. It means they have trouble fighting on normal planets. Their heavy bones and muscles work against them in standard gravity. We have a natural advantage in most combat situations. This information would be valuable for planning future operations. The Korth had seemed unstoppable because they only attacked species weaker than themselves. Against humans who understood their weaknesses, they were just another enemy to defeat. Commander Steve Adams led his fighter squadron on patrol around the planet. His pilots had performed perfectly in the space battle, but Adams knew the real test was still coming. The Korth Empire would send reinforcements eventually. Eagle 1 to base, Adams called. We're picking up long-range sensor contacts. Looks like someone's coming to check on their missing fleet. Turner checked the tactical display on his command screen. 12 more Korth ships were approaching the system. This would be another chance to show the enemy what happened when they threatened innocent people. All stations prepare for round 2, Turner announced. Looks like some Korth didn't get the message the first time. The arriving Korth fleet was commanded by Admiral Keshtor, General Vexmore's superior officer. Keshtor had brought his best ships and most experienced crews. He expected to find Vexmore's forces finishing off the last Volani resistance. Instead, he found wreckage floating in space and human ships waiting for him. What happened here? Keshtor demanded when Vexmore's damaged ship joined his fleet. The humans, Admiral. They fight like demons. Their weapons are beyond anything we have faced. Keshtor looked at the human fleet through his view screen. Their ships were small and ugly compared to Korth vessels. But something about the way they moved suggested these enemies would not be easy to intimidate. All ships attack formation, Keshtor ordered. We will show these humans the power of the Korth Empire. Turner watched the enemy fleet approach and smiled grimly. These Korth obviously had not learned their lesson yet. He was happy to teach them again. Sergeant Rodriguez, how are our ground forces? Turner asked. All Marines accounted for, sir. The Volani are safe and we've cleared all Korth positions on the planet. Good. Major Sullivan, are your mechs ready for another fight? Standing by, Colonel. My pilots are eager to try out some new tactics. Turner nodded. The first battle had been about rescuing the Volani. This second battle would be about sending a message to the entire Korth Empire. All ships, this is Turner. We've got company coming. Let's show them what happens when they don't listen the first time. The human fleet moved to intercept the Korth reinforcements. On the planet below, Villani refugees watched from their shelters as their human protectors prepared for another battle. Captain Zethka stood with Admiral Hayes in the command center. Will your warriors be able to defeat this larger fleet? Zethka asked. Hayes looked at the tactical display showing 12 Korth ships against 6 human vessels. The odds looked bad, but she had complete confidence in Turner and his people. Captain, you're about to see why Earth's military is the most feared force in the galaxy. We don't just fight to win battles. We fight to end wars. The second battle was about to begin, but this time the humans were ready with new tactics and better intelligence. The Korth Empire was about to learn that attacking peaceful species was a mistake they would regret forever. Admiral Keshtor's fleet opened fire first, sending waves of plasma energy toward the human ships. Once again, Earth's shields absorbed the attacks effortlessly. The Korth still had not learned that their weapons were useless against human technology. Turner's response was swift and deadly. Human railguns spoke with mechanical precision, sending metal slugs at incredible speeds toward Korth hulls. The enemy ships began exploding one by one as Earth's superior firepower found its mark. Target their command ship, Turner ordered. Let's cut off the head of this snake. The battle would be over quickly, but its effects would spread across the galaxy. Word was already spreading that a new power had entered the war. The age of Korth dominance was ending, and the age of human protection was about to begin. 3 months had passed since the battles at Kepler 442b. Colonel Alex Turner's fleet now moved deep into Korth space like a hunting pack following wounded prey. What started as a rescue mission had become something much bigger. Earth's warriors were taking the fight to the enemy's home territory. The human fleet had grown larger. Earth had sent more ships and soldiers after hearing about the Korth Empire's crimes. Admiral Lisa Hayes now commanded 12 warships carrying 5,000 Marines. Each vessel was packed with the most advanced weapons Earth had ever built. Turner stood in the war room studying star maps captured from defeated Korth fleets. Red marks showed Korth military bases. Blue marks showed worlds with prisoners and slaves. Yellow marks showed species that might help fight against the Empire. The intelligence from Captain Gray's team shows us their weak points, Turner explained to his officers. The Korth control their empire through fear, not loyalty. Most of their subject species hate them. Major Kate Sullivan pointed to a cluster of red marks on the map. What about their main fleet base at Korth 7? Our scouts report at least 100 warships stationed there, Turner smiled. His Marines had been fighting smaller Korth fleets for months, learning their tactics and destroying their ships. Now it was time to hit them where it really hurt. That's exactly where we're going next. We take out their main base and their whole frontier defense collapses. Captain Linda Gray had been leading secret missions behind enemy lines for weeks. Her special forces teams moved like ghosts through Korth space, gathering information and freeing prisoners. She had seen things that made her hate the enemy even more. Colonel, I need to show you something, Gray said as she activated a holographic display. Images appeared showing alien prisoners in Korth work camps. These are from the mining world Trath 7. The Korth are using slaves from dozens of different species. The images were horrible. Alien beings who looked like they had once been proud and strong, now worked in dangerous mines under Korth whips. Many were dying from exhaustion and poor treatment. Turner felt his anger growing cold and focused. This was why Earth's warriors fought. Not for glory or conquest, but to stop evil when they found it. How many prisoners are we talking about? Turner asked. At least 50,000 on that world alone, and there are 20 more prison worlds just like it. Gray's voice was steady, but Turner could hear the fury underneath. Sergeant Maria Rodriguez had been training alien resistance fighters on liberated worlds. Many species had hidden groups that had been fighting the Korth for years. With human weapons and tactics, these rebels were becoming real threats to enemy control. Colonel, the Zephyrians on New Ceti want to join our next attack, Rodriguez reported. Their people have been enslaved for 30 years. They know Korth patrol routes and base layouts, Turner nodded. Having local allies would make the operation much easier. The Korth had made enemies everywhere they went. Now those enemies were ready to fight back with human support. Meanwhile, Dr. Paul Edwards continued studying captured Korth technology and biology. His research had revealed important facts about the enemy that could be used against them. Colonel, I've finished analyzing the Korth command structure. Edwards reported. Their entire military runs on a strict hierarchy. If we take out the top commanders, the lower ranks won't know what to do. This information gave Turner an idea for a new type of attack. Instead of just destroying Korth ships, his forces could target their leadership and cripple their ability to coordinate defenses. Commander Steve Adams led expanded fighter squadrons that now included volunteer pilots from liberated species. His human pilots taught alien flyers how to work together in combat formations. The results were impressive. "We've got 42 fighters ready for the next operation," Adams reported. Half human, half alien. The new guys are eager to pay back the Korth for what they did to their worlds. On the Korth homeworld of Krath Prime, Emperor Krathvel received reports about the human advance with growing worry. For the first time in his long reign, the Empire was losing territory instead of gaining it. How is this possible? The Emperor demanded of his military advisors. "We have fought hundreds of species. None have resisted us like these humans." General Kexnal, the Empire's top military commander, looked uncomfortable as he delivered his report. "Great Emperor, these humans fight differently than anyone we have encountered. They use combined tactics we do not understand. Their technology is superior to ours." Krathvel's anger grew. His species had ruled through brute force for centuries. They had never needed to be clever or efficient because no one had been strong enough to resist them. "Bring me their leader for questioning. I want to understand how they think." "We have tried, Great Emperor, but the humans do not surrender. They fight to the death or escape before we can capture them." This news shocked Krathvel. Every species the Korth had conquered eventually gave up when faced with overwhelming force. The humans seemed to get more dangerous the harder they were pressed. Turner's fleet approached Korth 7 under cover of a massive asteroid field. The human ships moved quietly through the floating rocks while sensors mapped the enemy base ahead. "All ships, this is Turner. We're looking at the biggest Korth installation we've seen yet. Time to knock it down." The Korth base was built into a small moon orbiting a gas giant. Huge docking bays held dozens of enemy warships. Weapons platforms protected the approaches. It looked like an impossible target. But Turner's Marines had learned a lot about fighting the Korth over the past months. They knew the enemy's weaknesses and how to exploit them. "Captain Gray, take your teams and disable their communication arrays," Turner ordered. "Major Sullivan, your mechs will assault the main docking bay. Commander Adams, clear the space around the base." The attack began at dawn local time. Human fighters swept out of the asteroid field like angry hornets, hitting Korth patrol ships before they could raise alarms. Adams's mixed squadrons moved with perfect coordination. Alien and human pilots working together. On the base, Korth Commander Vexcol was drinking his morning stimulant when explosions began shaking his command center. His first thought was that there had been an accident in the weapons testing area. "Sir, we're under attack," his tactical officer shouted. "Multiple human ships approaching from the asteroid field." Vexcol could not believe what he was hearing. The humans were supposed to be far away, fighting small border conflicts. How had they gotten so deep into Korth space? "All ships launch immediately," Vexcol ordered. "Drive off these invaders." But Gray's special forces had already done their work. The base's communication systems went offline just as Korth ships tried to coordinate their defense. Individual captains had to guess what their orders were supposed to be. Sullivan's mechs landed on the docking bay like metal meteors. Her Titans smashed through Korth defensive positions, their weapons turning enemy tanks into scrap metal. Lieutenant Ben Foster's mech grabbed a Korth fighter and threw it into a group of enemy soldiers. Captain Ryan Clark used his plasma cannons to melt the locks on a massive hangar door. Inside, hundreds of Korth workers ran in panic as human Marines poured through the opening. "Surrender and you will not be harmed." Rodriguez called out in the Korth language. "We are here to free the prisoners." Most of the Korth workers were too scared to fight. They had heard stories about what happened to their fleets when they faced human forces. The smart ones dropped their tools and raised their hands. In the base's lower levels, Private Tony Martinez found the prison blocks where alien slaves were kept. The conditions were even worse than the intelligence reports had suggested. Thousands of beings from dozens of species were crammed into tiny cells. "This is Martinez to all units," he reported. "I've found the prisoners. We're going to need medical teams down here immediately." The rescued aliens could barely believe what was happening. Many had been prisoners for years and had given up hope of ever being free. Now strange new aliens in metal suits were breaking open their cells and offering them food and water. Dr. Edwards worked with alien doctors to treat the freed prisoners. Many were sick from poor conditions and overwork, but their spirits lifted when they learned that the Korth Empire was finally being defeated. The battle for Korth 7 lasted only 6 hours. When it was over, the enemy's largest military base was in human hands. 60 Korth warships had been destroyed or captured. Thousands of prisoners had been freed. But the most important victory was the intelligence Gray's teams found in the base computers. Complete records of every Korth military installation. Maps showing the location of every prison world. Most importantly, the exact coordinates of the Emperor's palace on Krath Prime. Turner stood in the captured command center, looking at the data his people had gathered. The end of the war was finally in sight. "Send a message to all Korth forces," Turner ordered his communications officer. "Tell them that Emperor Krathvel has 7 days to surrender completely, or we will come for him personally." Across the galaxy, word spread that the humans had destroyed the Korth's main military base. Species that had hidden from the Empire for generations began reaching out to Earth, offering to join the fight against their oppressors. 7 days had passed since Colonel Alex Turner gave Emperor Krathvel his ultimatum. The Korth leader had not surrendered. Instead, he had gathered every remaining ship in his empire around his homeworld of Krath Prime. 150 Korth vessels formed defensive rings around the planet where their species had ruled the galaxy for centuries. Turner's fleet approached the enemy homeworld, with 30 human ships and twice as many vessels from liberated species. The Zephyrians brought fast attack craft. The Altarians provided heavy cruisers. The Villani, whose plea for help had started this whole war, sent supply ships to support their rescuers. "All ships, this is Turner," the colonel announced on the fleet communication channel. "Today we finish what the Korth started when they chose to attack innocent people. Remember, we're not here for conquest. We're here for justice." On the bridge of his flagship Liberty, Admiral Lisa Hayes watched the tactical display showing both fleets preparing for battle. This would be the largest space fight in galactic history. The outcome would decide whether the Korth Empire continued its reign of terror or ended forever. "Colonel Turner, Earth Command sends their regards," Hayes reported. "The President himself wanted me to tell you that the whole planet is proud of what you've accomplished out here." Turner smiled grimly. His Marines had come a long way from that first rescue mission at Kepler 442b. Now they were about to face the entire remaining strength of the enemy empire. In the palace on Krath Prime, Emperor Krathvel prepared for his final battle. He was ancient even by Korth standards, having ruled for over 2 centuries. His species had never faced defeat because they had never fought anyone strong enough to beat them. "Great Emperor, the human fleet is within weapons range," reported Admiral Thexvor, the last surviving senior commander in the Korth military. "Should we open fire?" Krathvel looked at the display showing the approaching enemy ships. So few vessels against the might of his empire, yet somehow these humans had destroyed fleet after fleet, liberated world after world, and driven his forces back to their home system. "Send one final message to their leader," the Emperor ordered. "Ask him what he wants from us." The communication reached Turner's ship within minutes. The aging Korth ruler appeared on the main screen, his gray skin marked with scars from countless victories over weaker species. "Human Commander, I am Emperor Krathvel. You have defeated my fleets and taken my worlds. What do you want from the Korth Empire?" Turner looked at the alien tyrant who had ordered the deaths of millions of innocent beings. His answer was simple and direct. "Justice, Emperor. Complete and final justice for every species you've enslaved and murdered." Krathvel's eyes narrowed. "And if I refuse? Then we'll take it anyway." The Emperor cut the communication and turned to his military commanders. "All ships attack. Show these humans why the galaxy fears the Korth." The battle began with a massive exchange of fire between the two fleets. Korth plasma beams lit up space like deadly lightning, while human railguns answered with solid metal death. The difference in tactics was immediately clear. The Korth fought like they always had, with individual ships trying to overpower their opponents through brute force. The humans and their allies moved like a single organism, each vessel supporting the others in carefully planned formations. Commander Steve Adams led the fighter attack against Korth capital ships. His mixed squadrons of human and alien pilots worked together perfectly, having trained for months as a single unit. "Eagle Squadron, target their shield generators," Adams ordered. "Falcon Squadron, hit their weapon systems. Let's open them up for the big guns." The smaller ships danced between Korth vessels like deadly insects, their precise attacks finding weak points that enemy engineers had never thought to protect. Soon, massive Korth battleships were drifting helpless as their systems failed one by one. Major Kate Sullivan's mechs launched from assault ships directly at the enemy fleet. The giant fighting machines used magnetic clamps to attach themselves to Korth hulls, then cut through the armor with plasma torches. Lieutenant Ben Foster found himself standing on the outside of a Korth cruiser. His mech's feet locked to the hull while space battle raged around him. He used his railgun to punch holes through the ship's vital systems. "This is like surgery with a sledgehammer," Foster laughed as he disabled another enemy vessel. "I love this job." Captain Ryan Clark's mech team targeted the Korth command ships, trying to disrupt their ability to coordinate the defense. The enemy fleet was large but poorly organized. Without proper leadership, individual captains began making mistakes. On Krath Prime, Sergeant Maria Rodriguez led the first wave of ground forces toward the Imperial Palace. The planet's surface was covered with massive cities built to show Korth power and dominance. Now those same cities would witness the Empire's final defeat. "All squads, remember the rules of engagement," Rodriguez called to her Marines. "Military targets only. Protect civilians. We're liberators, not conquerors." The Korth ground forces put up fierce resistance, but they were facing the most experienced soldiers Earth had ever produced. Rodriguez's people had been fighting the enemy for months, learning their tactics and exploiting their weaknesses. Captain Linda Gray's Special Forces teams had already infiltrated the palace before the main battle began. Her mission was to capture Emperor Krathvel alive and gather intelligence about any remaining Korth forces hidden throughout the galaxy. Gray moved through the palace corridors like a shadow, her advanced armor making her nearly invisible to enemy sensors. She had studied the building's layout for weeks, planning the perfect route to the throne room. The Imperial Guards were the best warriors the Korth Empire could produce, but they had never faced opponents like human special forces. Gray's team moved with precision and coordination that overwhelmed the aliens' simple defensive tactics. In space, the battle was turning against the Korth fleet. Admiral Thexvor watched helplessly as human tactics systematically destroyed his ships. The enemy fought with a skill his species had never developed, because they had never needed to. "All remaining vessels, retreat to the inner defense perimeter," Thexvor ordered. "Protect the Emperor at all costs." But Turner's fleet followed the retreating Korth ships like hunting wolves. There would be no escape this time. The human colonel had promised justice, and he intended to deliver it. Private Tony Martinez coordinated communications between all the different species fighting together against the Korth. His network allowed perfect coordination between ships that had never worked together before this war. "All allied vessels, this is Control," Martinez announced. "Human fleet will take the upper hemisphere. Zephyrian ships hit the middle zone. Altarian cruisers secure the lower approaches." Dr. Paul Edwards monitored the battle from his research ship, gathering final data about Korth technology and tactics. His work would help prevent future wars by understanding how aggressive empires could be defeated quickly and completely. "Colonel Turner, I'm seeing massive power fluctuations from the enemy flagship," Edwards reported. "I think they're trying to overload their reactor." Turner understood immediately. The Korth would rather destroy their own capital than surrender it to human forces. But Turner had prepared for this possibility. "All ships focus fire on the Imperial flagship. Take out their reactor before they can detonate it." The combined fleet concentrated their weapons on Emperor Krathvel's massive vessel. Hundreds of railgun slugs and energy beams overwhelmed the ship's defenses. The reactor that was supposed to destroy the capital instead went offline safely. In the palace throne room, Captain Gray found Emperor Krathvel waiting for her with his personal guard. The ancient ruler sat on a throne made from the bones of his enemies, surrounded by weapons taken from conquered worlds. "So, the humans finally come for me," Krathvel said calmly. "You fight well for such a young species." Gray kept her weapon trained on the Emperor while her team secured the room. "It's over, Krathvel. Your empire is finished. Surrender now and your remaining people might survive." The Emperor laughed bitterly. "You think this changes anything? The galaxy is full of predators. When the Korth are gone, someone else will take our place." "Maybe," Gray replied. "But they'll have to get through Earth first." The capture of Emperor Krathvel marked the end of organized Korth resistance. Across the galaxy, Remaining enemy forces surrendered or fled to distant systems. The empire that had terrorized peaceful species for centuries was finally broken. Turner stood in the captured palace looking out at the city where millions of Korth civilians went about their daily lives. The war was over, but the work of building peace was just beginning. "Colonel, we're receiving surrender messages from Korth commanders throughout the galaxy," reported his communications officer. "What are your orders?" Turner thought about Captain Zethka and the Villani refugees who had started this whole campaign by asking Earth for mercy. They had received something better than mercy. They had received justice. Accept all surrenders. Begin processing prisoners according to galactic law. And send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the mission is complete. Admiral Hayes joined Turner on the palace balcony. Below them, human Marines worked alongside soldiers from dozens of liberated species to restore order and begin rebuilding.